Hey, Lynn,
Hi.
are you incognito? Oh, there you are. Okay. Well, why don't we get started? Good evening. My name is Philip Lee, and I'm so glad you decided to join me for this first session of Become a Millionaire. So I use BAM as an acronym for Become a Millionaire throughout the session. So that's what BAM stands for. So I started this group on December 18th. So that's exactly a month and a day. And I'm already up to like 52, 53 people. So I'm very excited about the kind of traction that we're getting. So welcome to session one of Introduction to Becoming a Millionaire. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epic of belief. It was the epic of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. These are the immortal words that begin Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. I chose these lines to symbolize the beginning of your journey here. These lines emphasize the stark contrast between extremes, the best of times, the worst of times, age of wisdom and age of foolishness, season of light, season of darkness, spring of hope, and winter of despair. So your journey begins today. So just a little legalese. So this materials are copyrighted. We're under non-disclosure so that we can feel free to talk without people sharing information. And then the third one is that this information is provided to the best of my knowledge, and you have to use your own risk. So you do your own homework and make your own decisions. So with that, I want to tell you what the agenda was going to be. Ooh, I'm hearing something. I'm going to mute everybody. How do you mute everybody? Good. Okay, so I'm just going to start off telling you a little bit about me. So in a session like this where credibility is very important, I think it's important that I share with you a little bit about my background and my experience and why I think I'm qualified to teach this course. Then we're going to talk a little about millionaire facts. Since we all want to be a millionaire because we joined this session, I think it's important that we know something about it. And then we get into the meat of the presentation, which is the Become a Millionaire strategies. So here's where the fun begins, and here's where I start to share with you what I consider my secret sauce. So we'll wait to get into that. And the key to becoming a millionaire is to really master those BAM, Become a Millionaire strategies. And we'll talk about what that means and how you would do that over the course of this course. So getting back to basics, so becoming a millionaire is a project. So we have to treat it like a project, and that's what we're going to do in this course. And anytime you have a project, you know you need a project plan. So in the first few weeks of this course, we'll help you build your own personal Become a Millionaire project plan. And then I'll share with you what the rest of the curriculum will be like the rest of this year. So tell you a little bit about me. So just some personal facts. So I've been married, happily married for 36 years. And we have 5 adult children, all doing extremely well. Diane, my wife, and I, we live in the Boston area, and we're loving life, enjoying life. I play a lot of chess online, and I'm also a karaoke enthusiast. I also love music, and I spend a great deal of time investing. So that's a little bit about my personal life. And I have an undergraduate degree from Cornell in engineering back in the 70s. And then I got a master's degree from Cornell as well. So it's a little bit about me. This is actually Dr. Steve Raymond. He was the founder of one of the companies that I was CEO for. And he actually introduced me for a different speech. And I thought that I could lift that and share it here because I think it's appropriate.
Phil was educated in engineering at Cornell. He got both an undergraduate degree and an MBA there. He's the executive sales and a director at Oracle Corporation, and he was the president of Exelon and Clinsoft. Over the 7 years of growth at PHT through which he's presided, he actually transformed the company to profitability. He was honored by Pharma Voice 100 as one of the most 100 influential and inspiring people in the pharmaceutical industry. And reflecting on Phil has led me to realize that he has a singular capability to bore rapidly to the heart of a problem or an opportunity. He then targets the next step, the essential next step. And the genius of getting this right, this single issue right, time after time, what to do next, is leadership. I hope you will remember what Phil says today is if the future of PHT depends on it, because it does. Colleagues at PHT, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce Philip Lee, CEO of PHT, to present today's lecture.
Thank you very much, Dr. Raymond. So a little bit about my professional background. I just want to run through a little bit quickly. So I actually spent 9 years as an individual contributor. So I worked for General Motors as an engineer for 3 or 4 years in Michigan. Then I came back to the Boston area and worked for Digital Equipment Corporation from 1981 to 1986. Digital was actually the second largest computer company in the world at the time, behind IBM. And then I left Digital to join Oracle Corporation and worked there as a regional manager for 3 years, before being promoted. So after I spent 9 years individual contributor, I spent 5 years as either a manager or a director. So at Oracle, I spent 3 years as a manager there and then got promoted to director. And then I joined Interleaf as a director and spent a couple of years doing that. And then I was a vice president for 6 years, 3 years at Interleaf and 3 years at BBN, which is Bolt, Beranek and Newman. And then finally, I spent 20 years as a CEO at 4 different companies. I was CEO of the company called Clinsoft from 1997 to 2001, at which point in time we sold it to Oracle. Then I was the president of Object Design in Exelon, a company that I ran for 3 years, and we sold to Progress Software in Bedford, Massachusetts. Then I spent 12 years as CEO of PHT Corporation before selling it to a company called ERT. And then I spent a couple of years at Vermedica that we ultimately sold to Vermedic. So that's really a little bit about my background. And I just wanted to share that because I want you to know that I've had experience as an individual contributor, as a manager, as a VP, and as a CEO. So I've really seen a lot of different aspects of what it means to work for a company. So here's a little bit about PHT.
Philip Lee, PHT Corporation. Phil Lee is transforming his field. In 2003, Phil joined PHT Corporation, a company founded to improve clinical research by obtaining better information in clinical trials. He quickly commercialized the company's electronic patient-reported outcomes technology, known as eDiary, which captured subject data anywhere, saving time and money.
I think I'm most proud of how the employees in the company have developed and grown and helped drive the company forward. I see that growth, and I'm very proud of that.
With ePro now recommended by government regulatory bodies, PHT has become an international player, and Phil is its driving force.
Okay, that's a useful video. So I'm also an author. So after I left PHT, I wrote a book. This is the cover of the book, How to Think and Act Like a CEO to Propel Your Job and Your Career Forward. So there's a lot of information in that book that I will be using in this course because that's part of the formula for becoming a millionaire. And then here are some of the awards that I got over the years. So as Dr. Raymond mentioned, I was honored as one of the 100 most inspirational people in life sciences. Then in 2012, I was an Entrepreneur of the Year finalist at Ernst & Young, as well as CEO of the Year finalist for Mass Technology Council, and also voted a tech luminary by Boston Business Journal. and then was on the Inc. 5000, which are the 5,000 fastest growing companies in America. Then in 2013, we repeated that for Inc. 5000, and I was also nominated again as Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year finalist. So a little bit about my background. So let's move on to a little about my ability to accumulate wealth. So what do I know about augmenting my income? What do I know about that? So I started as a very junior engineer at General Motors back in '78. And actually within 5 years, I was able to grow my income those 5 years such that I doubled my income by 1983. And then another 4 years later, when I was a regional manager at Oracle, I doubled my income again. And then when I became a vice president in '94, I doubled my income again. And then when I first got to be a CEO, I only grew my salary by 50%, and that grew another 50% in 2016. So that's a little bit about what I've done in my career in terms of being able to augment my income. And that's an important part of this course. So what do I know about expanding wealth through investing? Well, I built my IRA back in 1985 to about $100,000. And then by 1990, 5 years later, I was able to double that, and then double it again by 2005, doubled again by 2013, and I doubled again last year in 2020. So I've been very fortunate or very good at investing. And what do I know about home ownership? So I bought my first home in 1981, and I really only $25,000 to my name at the time, and I put it all down to buy this $76,000 home. 8 years later, I was able to increase my down payment to $65,000 and bought a $300,000 home. And then the next one was 14 years later, I built up enough of a down payment to purchase a $1.2 million home. And then in 2015, I purchased a $2.5 million home with a $1.5 million down payment. So just sharing with you a little bit about how using home ownership as a way to grow wealth is really fantastic. And then what do I know about becoming a millionaire? So I became a millionaire in 1999. And then by 2007, I had doubled my net worth. And then I doubled again in 2015. And with a little luck, I'll double again in 2021, but haven't done it yet. So there we are. So I'm sure you're all asking the question, why is Phil doing this? Why am I doing this? And it's a very good question. Because the program's free and it costs you nothing. And I'm obviously doing this because America's been actually very good to me. It's been very good to my family. And I think it's a good way to give back to the community, and hopefully I can help some of you become millionaires. I also love the topic of growing wealth. It's something I spent a lot of time thinking about, and I think I know something about it. And I just want to share that knowledge with as many people who will listen. I also have a passion for teaching, and this gives me an opportunity to combine my love of growing wealth with my teaching passion. And I also like helping people, and I think this is a great opportunity for me to do that. And I really want to prove to the world that I can teach you guys how to become millionaires. So that's a little bit about why I'm doing this. So let's move on to the next section, section 2, which is a millionaire facts. So let me start by saying, what is the definition of net worth? So, at the simplest level, it's what you own minus what you owe. So what do you own? You may own a house, you may own a car, you own your furniture, you may have a bank account, you may have a 401k account. So you've got a number of different assets. And then from that, you have to subtract what you owe. So you probably if you have a home, you probably have a home mortgage, you might have a car loan, you might have credit card bills. So you take all your assets, you subtract everything you owe, and that is your net worth. Okay, so that make sure we all understand that. And what is a millionaire? So this is a very basic fact. So anyone with a net worth of greater than $1 million is a millionaire. So how many millionaires are there in the United States? Any guesses? Anybody want to venture a guess on that? Actually, everyone's muted, so I'll spare you guys. So about 11 to 12 million households in the US are what's called millionaire households. So it means that it's actually not that rare. 11 to 12 million is a pretty good number. And there's probably 11 to 12 million ways to become a millionaire. And I'm just sharing with you one. So I'm not saying that the way I share is actually the only way. In fact, it's not the only way. There are many ways, but I know this way works. It certainly worked for me. And there's a total of 128 million households in the US. So if you do the math, it means about 10% of the households in the US are millionaire households. So if you think about it, if you went to a meeting and there were 40 people there, it means on average, there'll be 4 people in that meeting that come from millionaire households. So it's good to know that. So where is the majority of the millionaire's net worth? So if you have $1 million, where's the majority of that money sit? As you probably have guessed, it's your primary residence. As I showed you, it was a big part of my net worth early on. And it's also your 401k or retirement account, maybe IRA, maybe 401k. So one of the focuses of my strategy is to build your wealth in those 2 assets, because that's frankly the way most people get there. A little more about millionaire facts. So how long does it take to become a millionaire? So do people become a millionaire overnight? Does it take 5 years, 10 years? Well, they did a study and they found that most people took 28 years to become a millionaire. So this is not something that happens quickly. It takes work, it takes perseverance, and that's just the facts. And at what age do most people reach millionaire status? So, if people start at about 20, so, it's 49 years old. So people don't become millionaire in their 20s and 30s. Some people do, but, on average, most people are in their late 40s, early 50s before they reach that threshold. So, if you're not there yet, don't fret. You're like most people. So you're like most millionaires. They don't get there till they're 49 or 50 years old. Here's a chart that shows net worth by percentile. So let me just share with you how to read this chart. So basically, if you start at level 1, it basically says that if you have $1,000 to your name, if your net worth is $1,000, then you are richer than 10% of the people in America. If you have $10,000 of net worth, then you are in the 20 percentile. If you have 31K, you're at the 30 percentile. 63K, you're at the 40 percentile, so on and so forth, until you get to the 9th level, where you're at a net worth of 1.2 million, and you're at the 90 percentile. So that, remember I said that about 10% of the people have $1 million or more? Well, that's the reverse of the 90%. So the way you read this chart is you go one level below where you're at. So for instance, if you had, let's say, $5,000, you would be in level 1 because you have not reached level 2 yet. If you have, let's say, $35,000, you're actually at level 3 because you have not reached level 4. So that's the way this chart is read. So I want each of you to look at this chart and just do some quick math in your mind and just jot down on a piece of paper in front of you, what level are you at? Are you at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9? So take a minute to do that, because I think that is the beginning of your journey. So with that, I'm going to move to the next section. This is section 3 of 7. And we're going to talk about the Become a Millionaire strategies. So to become a millionaire really requires the following. So the most important thing, I believe, is that you need to have a very positive attitude towards life. You have to have a very positive attitude towards whether you can succeed in becoming a millionaire or not. You have to believe it. If you don't believe it, then it won't happen. So you're the most important person that has to believe it. I'm sure that as you go through this journey, there'll be a lot of naysayers out there who'll say it can't be done. Phil doesn't know what he's talking about. That's stupid. And that will happen. That's happened to me. So you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe you can succeed. And that's really a requirement in order to be successful in this course. The second requirement is that you need aptitude. Aptitude is really the ability to learn and apply the strategies and tactics I will teach. And that's important. You have to have an open mind. You have to think about what I share with you. You have to internalize it. It has to become a part of the way you approach becoming a millionaire. The third A, I call these the 3 A's. The third A is you need the ability to execute and follow through on your plan. So what does that mean? Well, that means taking action. It means putting together lists. It means going through your list and completing the items on your list, checking them off, creating new lists, and the ability to execute the plan that we will put together. You also have to have time that you commit to a project like this. You're not going to become a millionaire if you spend no time on it. So, each of you need to decide what amount of time you can devote to a project like this. But if you can't spend, on average, 3 to 4 hours a day minimum, a week. Is it a week? Yeah, 3 to 4 hours a week. If you can't spend 3 to 4 hours a week on this, then you probably won't have that much progress. I mean, you'll still benefit, but you really need to spend some time building the strategies, following through on the strategies. And that's just something that you have to decide to do. And finally, you have to plan. So we've already talked about this a couple of times. You have to develop a very detailed project plan that's got objectives, which is to become a millionaire, strategies, which I will share with you, and tactics that will help you implement the strategy. So those are the 5 things you require in order to become a millionaire. So it also requires knowledge, and that's part of what I will try to teach you and share with you throughout this course. It will require some tools. It will require worksheets, it requires spreadsheets, different types of tools that I will provide to make your journey easier. But what you have to provide is hard work. You have to work to learn what the strategies are, and you have to learn the strategies so that you can perform and implement the strategies. So just a word about that. So teachers versus performers. So I'm sure you all have heard Adele sing. She's a great singer. Adele can teach you how to sing. She can tell you how to hold your diaphragm, how to breathe, how to hit the right notes. But at the end of the day, Adele cannot sing for you. Okay? Michael Jordan, one of my favorite basketball players, he can teach you how to shoot a basketball. He can teach you how to hold the ball, how to shoot the ball with an arc, how to have the ball roll off your fingers. I mean, he can teach you all the mechanics of how to shoot properly, but he can't shoot the ball for you. You have to shoot the ball yourself. So similarly, I can teach you how to become a millionaire. I can teach you the strategies. I can work with you on the different plans. But at the end of the day, it's you that will do the work and execute the plan in order to become a millionaire. So just remember that. So what can you expect from me for this course? So I will be providing 12 sessions. This is the first one, so 1 a month for the next year. And they will provide you all the strategies that you need to be successful. And then I will work with you, as a group to develop specific tactics to implement those strategies. And then I have modules to help you hone and improve your skills. Like anything else, when you first learn something, you're not very good at it. So in order to master these skills, you have to really develop and improve them over time. And then I'm going to help you develop your own Become a Millionaire project plan that's specific to you. The tools I'll be providing are spreadsheets that I've built that are easy to use. It's basically, you fill in the numbers that pertain to you, and then it will share with you what the results are. I have a number of worksheets to help you, assess yourself or assess the situation. I have tools for planning. And then I actually have a complete template for your Become a Millionaire project plan. So again, you want to take that template and personalize it so it relates to you, but that will get you going and jumpstart your way through becoming a millionaire. So here we go. Here are the 3 basic strategies for accumulating wealth. The first, I think I've talked about what I did, is you need to augment your income. Basically just means you need to increase your income. So if you make $25,000, you got to find a way to increase that. If you make $50,000 a year, you need to find a way to increase that. If you make $100,000 a year, you have to find a way to increase that. And you have to do that year after year after year. And that's one of the things I want to work with you on. You also need to cut your expenses. And this is something I did early in my career is I found ways to reduce my spending and then cut my expenses and save that money. And then I took that money and invested it, and that way you build your wealth. So the acronym here is ACE. So just remember the ace of diamonds. So you can remember ACE. The diamonds indicates this is to become a millionaire. You know, diamonds are forever. So ace of diamonds to remember ACE. So these strategies are very foundational. I have other things that are built on these three strategies. So you have to learn these really well so that when I work on the more advanced strategies that you've got these down pat. Again, you really have to memorize these. You have to learn it well. You have to internalize them so that it becomes second nature. That's very important. It can't just be something you hear once and then not really focus on. So it takes a lot of effort to learn and memorize these three strategies. Now, each of these strategies in and of themselves are very powerful in terms of helping you build wealth. But the real key is when you do all three simultaneously at the same time, the results are just profound. So the next question is, how do you master these three strategies, these augment income, cut expense, and expand wealth? How do you master these? So let me say at this point that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. So if you were looking for a get-rich-quick scheme, this is not it. Yeah, right? It is a get-rich-at-your-own-pace scheme. So if you want to learn faster and master these strategies faster, you will get there faster. So everyone will have their own pace, just like everyone has their own personality. So it's up to you. And it takes time to learn these strategies and to work on these strategies and to perfect these strategies. So how fast can you master the ACE strategy? So that's what there's a pictorial of. So augmenting your income, the man walking up the steps, cutting your costs in the middle, and then the little leaf growing your money on the right. So how fast can you master these three strategies? Well, the metaphor I like to use here is, how fast can you drive a car, right? So how fast can you go? So for each of those three strategies, augment income, cut expense, and expand wealth, there are 6 different levels you can be at. So you all, I'm sure at the beginner, you are all at least at the beginner level, which is you're augmenting your income 0%, you're not cutting anything, and you're not investing anything. So that would be 0%. If you can get yourself up to the 5% level for augment income, means that you can consistently grow your income 5% a year. If you can get to 10%, that's an intermediate level. Now you're growing your income 10% a year. So that's pretty meaningful. If you can get to 15% in terms of annual augment income, and you can do that consistently, and now you're really an advanced person in this particular strategy. If you can do 20%, you're an expert. And if you can do 25% every year, you're basically a genius. So that's the augment income row. The cut expense row is a little different. So here we are talking about cutting expenses to save a percent of your income. So as an example, at the 5%, what we're saying is if you make $50,000 a year, you're really cutting expenses to contribute to saving 5% of 50,000, which would be $500 a year. So that's really about $200 a month. So that's, if you made $50,000, if you could save $200 a month, you would be a save 5%. If you can double that and save $400 a month, then you're saving 10%, and that would be an intermediate level. If you can save 15%, you're an advanced level, and 20% expert level. And if you can save 25% of your income, annual income, then you're really a genius in terms of cutting expenses. Now, the last row is expanding wealth. And here we're talking about investing in the stock market. I'm sure you recognize that. If you're not investing, you're at 0%. If you can get 5% a year consistently, then you're a basic investor. If you get to 10%, you're intermediate. Advanced is 15%. If you can get to 20%, you're an expert. And if you can get to 25% consistently, then you are truly a genius. So people spend their entire lives trying to invest in the stock market and probably don't do the 20, 25% level. So that just shows you that the three strategies and the different levels of achievement you can attain going through this course. So what I want you to do is you're just mentally in your head, think about what your current augment income percent is. So just think about your last raise. If it was like 5%, 10%, then that's your augment income percent. Think about how much money do you save every year in relationship to your salary. If you save 5% of your salary, then your cut expense is 5%. If you save 10%, then your cut expense is 10%. And then similarly, if you have invested anything in the stock market, what's your average return over the last 4 or 5 years? If it's 5, 10, 15%, that would be your expand wealth percent. So do it quickly in your little, on your piece of paper there, and then divide that number by 3. And that becomes your BAM composite score. So and it doesn't matter what it is. If it's 0, that's fine. If it's 10%, that's fine. If it's 5%, that's fine. But you just want to know your starting point. So please do that right now. So I went and did this exercise myself today, and I think I'm about 20% across the board. So I'm actually retired. But when I was working, I was probably getting a 20% raise every year. I was able to save about 20% of my income. And I think I've been able to consistently get 20% in the stock market. So my composite score is about 20%, which is actually pretty good. It's not 25%, but it's not bad. So what is your BAM composite score? So write that down, because we're going to need that for later in the course. So I'm going to move through this slide quickly, but you can think of the percent as almost a metaphor for how fast you can drive a car. So let's use 1 million miles to kind of represent $1 million. So the higher up you are in the percentage, the faster you're driving. So just as an example, if you're at beginner level and you're going 0 miles per hour, you'll never drive 1 million miles, right? So if you're at the basic level and you're going 10 miles an hour, you'll drive that in 100,000 hours. There's 2,000 hours a year. If you do 40 hours, so that's like 50 years. So that's a long time. If you can get up to 10%, then we're looking at 40,000 hours, which is about 20 years. If you can get to 15%, now we're looking at 10 years, etc. So that's the way I interpret moving up this ladder of success and being able to move more quickly towards your target of being a millionaire. So think of something that you're really good at. So I'll think of something like chess. I'm pretty good at chess. And then I'm going to think about someone who's a beginner at chess. They're not really very good. They're making bad moves all the time. So what I have to mentally think about is, in terms of the ace strategy, I'm like that person in chess. And I need to get to Phil's level. So that's a pretty wide chasm. So you need to think about that yourself and crystallize in your mind, because that helps you begin to make concrete how far you have to go from where you are, which is a beginner, to where you want to be, which is expert, or 20, 25% in those 3 strategies, okay? So let's talk a little bit about augment income. What am I talking about? So the most obvious one is to get a raise. And hopefully we all get raises every year, 2, 3, 4, 5%, whatever you get. But you can get a larger income augmentation if you get a promotion. Generally, that's on top of your raise. So if you're getting 5% raise, you can get another 5% for a promotion. Now you're looking at 10%. Some companies offer 401k matches. So if you have 401k and if they match up to 3 or 6%, if you make $50,000 a year, you can actually increase your income by 3% if you were to do the full 3%. So that's an example of a way of augmenting your income without getting a raise or a promotion. So it's just being smart. Another way to augment your income is to get a second job. Nothing wrong with that, especially if you're younger and you've got a lot of energy. You can waiter, you can waitress, you can drive an Uber, you can work for Instacart. I mean, there's many ways to augment your income other than you're getting a raise. You can work overtime. There are many jobs where, if you're working 40 hours a week, if you can add 5-10 hours to your work, then you can actually augment your income. You can buy income property. So you can get rent to help augment your income. If you had a hobby that you can monetize, if you're a photographer and you could, or you're an artist, you can do things for people and get paid to do that. That's another way to augment your income. So we have to think outside the box. It's not just your salary. You can do some consulting work. So we're in a gig economy now, so you can go on to sites like Upwork or Fiverr and advertise your services. So if you're a programmer, or if you're able to do accounting, or if you're some type of consulting, you can get a gig that does pays you $10, $500, $1,000, $2,000 in order to do a job. In fact, I wrote my book that way. I went to Upwork and found a ghostwriter, and I basically spent some time talking about what I want the book to say, and he wrote it for me. So began paying $10,000 to write that book, and he made some money, and I now have a book. So that's just an example of how you can augment your income beyond just your job. And another way to augment your income is really talk to recruiters. I'm not sure if you know a lot of recruiters in your field, but talking to recruiters will really give you a lot of ideas about either other jobs or what the market rate for your job is. There are a lot of ideas of how to augment your income, and here's just a few. And we will delve into this a lot more when we get into the course. But this just to give you a flavor for what I mean by augmenting your income. So when I talk about augmenting your income by 10, 15, 20, even 25%, it's not necessarily from your primary job. That would be really hard. So if you can get 10, 15% from your primary job and you get another 5, 10% from some of these other ideas, now you're at 25%. You're an expert. So that's pretty good. In terms of cutting expense, so this is something we can all do. You can identify all of your expenses, put it, I actually have a worksheet where you can list all of your expenses and begin to look at which ones can you reduce or eliminate. In this day and age of cable TV, obviously we all want to have cable TV, but do you need the 300-400 channels they offer? I know I don't watch it. So is there a way to cut $10, $15, $20 off your cable TV bill? Your cell phone service, are you at the top of the line? Do you really need them? Is there a way to cut back some of that, save $15, $20, $25 a month? It adds up. And what about your car insurance? Do you have a $250 deductible? Well, if you raise that deductible to $500 or $1,000, you can probably cut 10, 15, 20% off your insurance bill, your auto insurance bill. Make sure you're a good driver. I don't want you to raise your deductible if you get in accidents all the time. So only do that if you're a really good driver. Another thing you should do is every few years, you should go shop for insurance, because these insurance companies are very aggressive. They have a lot of programs where they'll cut the cost of insurance by 20, 30, 40% the first year just to try to get you to join them. Do you have car payments? Is there a way to reduce that? Can you pay off your loan? Is there a way to reduce your interest payments? Can you pay off half your loan and then reduce your car payments? So there's a number of ways to reduce your bills. The next one is one that is near and dear to my heart. If you're renting an apartment and you're paying $1,000 to $1,500 or $500 a month, you're really not getting equity out of that. Is there a way to buy a starter home and convert that rent into a mortgage where you're building equity every month? Not only that, but your home is appreciating. So between the appreciation, the tax benefits, and the equity that you're building, it becomes a nice way to build your wealth. The next one is something that we actually just started doing, not necessarily save money, but we started making coffee at home instead of buying it. It's not a lot of money. It's $10 a day for 300 days a year. It's about $4,000. So we probably still spend $2,000 buying the coffee and making it at home, but still, you can save $1,000, $2,000 a year that way. If you're paying any credit card interest, you need to find a way to eliminate that. That is basically just highway robbery. And then look, what about the IRS? How much taxes do you pay each year? Is there a way to look at the tax code and find a way of finding some deductions and reducing what you pay in taxes? So these are just a couple of ideas, and we'll delve into this more in the course, but it just gives you a flavor for the types of things I'm talking about to begin to cut your expenses and save 5, 10, 15, 20% a year of your income. Okay, so if your income is $50,000 and you're saving 10% of that, you're saving $5,000 a year. And obviously what we're going to do is turn around and put that into the stock market and make it work for you. So when we talk about expanding wealth, what we're talking about is taking those annual savings, whether it's $5,000, $2,000, $10,000 a year, getting a healthy return, like a 10, 15, 20% return, and then letting that ride for multiple years and enjoying the benefits of compound growth. If you do that, so I have an example here. So if your annual salary is $50,000 and you currently have a net worth of $5,000 and you had a BAM composite score of 5%, which is pretty low. That's at the basic level. If you look at the first column, it shows you what kind of wealth you will have in 5, 10, 15, up to 30 years. So if you made $50,000 and you had a 5% BAM composite score and you started with $5,000, in 30 years, you would have $350,000, which is it's not a bad sum of money. $350,000 is a lot of money, but 30 years is a long time. So I wouldn't be satisfied with that. So if you could just improve your scores just a little, not even get to intermediate, but just 8%, just increase it 3% a year. It's not a lot. You can do that, by getting a second job or by just cutting some expense, improving the way you invest, get to 8%. Now in 30 years, you're a millionaire. In fact, you've got 1.3 million in 30 years. But I'm still not satisfied with that. I think you can get to 10%. So if you got to 10%, now you can become a millionaire in 25 years. In fact, it's probably more like 22, 23 years, because by year 25, you've got $1.4 million. And 15% is probably the one you should target for, because that's actually very achievable. I'm pretty sure I can get you all to 15% by the end of this year. And then you would be a millionaire in 15 years. And that's probably what you should target. I think 20% and 25% is actually very hard. I mean, I'm not at 25%, so I don't think that that's something you ought to strive for. But if you could get to 20, 25%, we're talking some very, very substantial numbers. So that just gives you an example of how you put all of the ACE strategies together. Augment your income, cut your expense to save a certain percentage of your income, and then you invest it very nicely, and then you can become a millionaire within 15 years just with the 15% BAM composite score. So becoming a millionaire is a project, okay? And projects have beginning, middles, and ends. Projects all have defined goals, starting points, and steps in between. And projects can be small projects, they can be medium-sized projects, or they can be large projects. So just a couple of examples. So how many of you have put together furniture from IKEA? That I consider a small project. You get all the planks of wood, you get the screws, you get the little tools, and you get an instruction booklet. And if you follow that step by step, within 4, 5, 6 hours, you will have assembled your furniture from IKEA. That is a project. But they've assembled all the tools and the planks and the directions to help you do that. How about losing 20 pounds? Consider that a medium-sized project. You need a plan. You need to exercise. You need to watch your diet. You need to measure stuff regularly. That may take 30, 60, 90 days to lose 20 pounds. I'd consider that sort of a medium-sized project. How about getting a college degree? That's a 4-year project. That's a long project, right? But there's a 4-year plan. You take courses every year. There's a very defined way of getting a college degree, and many people do that. So that's a large project. So becoming a millionaire is a project just like those projects, right? So just think of some projects you've worked on and try to think of becoming a millionaire as a concrete project, because that's the only way you're going to get there. If it's this nebulous thing, I'm going to get rich, and you don't have a plan to do it, and you don't have a prescribed set of steps, then it probably won't happen. So what I'm trying to teach you is how to build a concrete project plan that you can begin to work on and towards, and one that you feel good about and that you feel confidence in completing and getting to become a millionaire. So this is actually something I borrowed from Stephen Covey. He talks about begin with end in mind, which I think is very important. So when we talk about becoming a millionaire, it's very easy to know what the end is, right? So let's assume we're all starting at 0 and we're trying to get $1 million. So the beginning point is 0 and the end point is $1 million. And what you want to do is create this graph of how you're going to get from where you are, which is 0, to the $1 million. And everyone's chart will be different. Everyone's chart will be based on what your situation is. So here's where I like to provide another concrete metaphor. So you can think of becoming a millionaire like driving cross country. So here's an example of driving cross country. You obviously need a map, right? You need a map of the United States in order to drive cross country. You also need a triptych. You need someone to sort of outline, what you're going to do, where you're going to stop. This is a map of going from San Francisco to Boston, and you have the green triptych that takes you through from San Francisco all the way to your destination. This particular triptych includes 10 stops. So these are cities you stop in to get rest, to sleep, to maybe do some sightseeing. So in terms of this metaphor, if you drive cross country, you obviously need a map. If you want to become a millionaire, you need knowledge. To drive cross country, you need a triptych. To become a millionaire, you need a plan, a project plan. You saw the interim stops for driving cross country. You need interim goals for becoming a millionaire. You definitely need money to fund your trip cross country. In order to become a millionaire, you need a salary. So you need income in order to fund this Become a Millionaire project. You need a car to go cross country, and you need a wealth engine. So that's where we're talking about the stock market and investment. When we talk about fuel for the car, we're talking about savings to fuel the wealth engine, because you need to put something in order to make it grow. And when we talk about the food along the way, that's like the tools I provide you. The rest stops would be like the meetings that you have with your friends in order to talk about this. Hotels are like discussion. So hopefully this helps you get a better feel for how becoming a millionaire is very much like a concrete project, like driving cross country. You just have to do the right mapping, and it becomes much more concrete and something that's much more achievable. So becoming a millionaire, how long will it take? Well, it all depends on you. It depends on your situation. It depends on what your starting point is. If you're starting 0, that's one thing. If you're starting at $50,000, it's another thing. It depends on what your starting income is. Again, that's your individual situation. What's your ability to augment income? Is it the 5% a year, or is it 25% a year? How hard are you willing to work at learning the strategies or getting the second incomes in order to augment your income? How fast you get there depends on how much your annual savings are as a percentage of your income. And that comes back to your ability to cut costs. And then finally, it's really predicated on your ability to get a very good annual return. If you don't get a good annual return, that money just will not multiply the way you want it to. So if you can get that up to the 15, 20, 25%, then you will really see your wealth soar. So what's your starting point? So if you got $1,000, then you're just starting out, and I think that's really good for you. You've decided to get going with this amazing journey, and that's wonderful. If you got $2,000 to $10,000, it's early, but you're clearly sticking with it. So I think that's wonderful. If you've got $10,000 to $30,000, you're really on your way. That's very promising. You're clearly working hard at saving money. If you got $30,000 to $60,000 tucked away, so now we're talking. You have enough for a rainy day. So it's important to have enough for a rainy day. If you've got $60,000 to $120,000, which is level 5, you're doing well. You just have to keep up the good work. At 120, 180, you're doing an incredible job, and you most certainly will get there. It's just a matter of time. If you've got $180,000 to $300,000, then you're really doing quite fantastic, and I'm sure you'll get there. And if you get $300,000 to $600,000, you're really on home stretch, and you actually don't need me, but that's okay. I'll help you anyway. So let's talk about this project plan that I've been referring to, because it's very important. It's really your blueprint for success. If you don't have a good project plan, then you won't get there, right? Because you're going to follow a project plan. You need a really rock solid project plan, such that if you follow that project plan, you will get to become a millionaire. And that's why I'll help you build. So project plans to me need to be really short and sweet and just bullets. I'm not looking for a lot of verbiage. You need to be very clear on what your timeline for wealth creation is. So what will your wealth be year after year after year? You need to create that, because that becomes your roadmap forward. You need to very specifically outline all the various strategies you want to partake of. And each strategy must have a timeline, and it must be very detailed. Again, such that if you performed the tasks under each strategy, you will accomplish each strategy and then ultimately accomplish your goal. Now, plans are never right, and they're not static. You have to review your plans at least yearly, if not more often, to make sure that there are things you need to adjust, because invariably there will be. So it's important not to create a static plan that you just assume will work. You have to constantly be evaluating your plan based on what you've done, and then updating it to make sure that the plan really reflects where you are and where you want to go. So this is an example of a timeline for wealth creation. And here are the steps of the plan. So the first thing you have to do is probably some important self-assessment. Have you got the attitude, the ability, the aptitude? Do you have the time that you're going to commit to do this project? So these are questions you have to ask yourself, and you have to be honest. I mean, if you don't have the time, that's okay. Maybe now is not the time, but you have to start at a time that you're comfortable, right? Everyone, life goes in cycles. There are times when you're more motivated, you've got more time, and maybe this is the time for you. Then you got to develop the plan, or we'll develop the plan together. Then you've got to work on the expand wealth strategy. That's a very key element to what we do. Then you got to go, make sure you got a plan to augment your income every year by 15, 20%. Then you get the cut expense plan, then the real estate plan to get your home. And then you got to work to cut your taxes, save more money that way. And then you got to work on that continuous improvement. As you start to develop these skills, how do you improve yourself over time? And then if you do all of these things, you start to build momentum. So these are sort of elements of your plan that we will work on together. So a little bit about the curriculum. So so there's a homework for session 1. In fact, session 2 is on February 2nd. So I've got that written already. So I will ask you all to do these this homework before the next session. So make sure you estimate your current net worth level. I think we talked about that. Calculate your current BAM composite score. Is it 0? Is it 2? Is it 5? Make sure you know what that is. And then I will help you generate your initial net worth forecast. So we'll do step 3 together because I've got a tool to do that for you. And then in the worksheet I provided in the comments section of this meetup, print that out. You have to come up with a list of ideas for augmenting your income. So do that. And you have to come up with a list of expenses that you have. At this point, I'm not asking you to cut. Just create the list. And then we'll deal with cutting later. Same thing with augment income. Just create the list. We're not asking you to augment your income yet. That comes later. And then in terms of expand wealth, I want you to go open a brokerage account at Fidelity. It doesn't have to be Fidelity. I'm familiar with Fidelity, and I think it's probably the best platform around, but you can do E-Trade, you can do Schwab, TD Ameritrade. It doesn't matter, but I can help you with Fidelity more because I know the tools within Fidelity. And then name that account Become a Millionaire. So you open this account, call it Become a Millionaire, and then that 5% or 10% you're going to save every year, you're going to put it in that account, okay? And then we will watch that account grow, and I will teach you step by step how to invest that money and teach you to invest that money in the future so that you can become a millionaire. So that's homework for February 2nd. So there'll be a total of 12 modules. Today's module 1. I'll have 2 more introduction modules like this one where it's a little bit at a higher level and I don't get into all of the details. There'll be 2 specific modules on augment income because that's such a big topic. I could probably do 10 on augment income, but I will do 2, which will give you a foundation for what it takes to basically augment your income every year by 15%. We'll do 1 module on cut expense. We'll do 2 modules on expand wealth. That's another one that I could probably do many more on because it's a big topic. And I'm just going to get you started on it, but we're going to try to get you going there. We'll have 1 module on purchasing your home, which is again, a part of the Become a Millionaire plan. We'll have two modules on developing your own personal project plan. So this will be your roadmap to success. It's your blueprint for success. So you got to do a good job. And then we'll have 1 module on continuous improvement. How do you continuously improve on all of these things? So my goal at the end of 2021 is to get you all to 15% of those 3 strategies. If I do that, you're well on your way. I believe I can teach that. And hopefully you can absorb enough to be able to achieve that by December of this year. If I can do that, I'll be so thrilled. So we're getting to the end. So I just wanted to sort of recap what we learned today. So we learned the 3 easy steps to becoming a millionaire. It's really about augmenting your income every year, cutting expense to save a certain amount of money every year, and then investing that money using compound growth to grow your net worth. We talked about developing a plan. We talked about having your Become a Millionaire composite score. I'm going to help you generate your net worth forecast. We're going to work on the ACE strategies, the ACE strategies. You're going to open your brokerage account. You're going to start putting money in that account. And then next session, we'll start investing that money. Okay. So if you have up to $1,000, I would ask you to put, if you have 500, that's fine. If you have 1,000, that would be good. But don't put any more than 1,000 because this is money that we're going to invest, but we're going to be learning with it. So I don't want you to put any more money in there that you can't afford to lose. So that's it. So that is session 1. So with that, I'm going to ask people to unmute, and I'd be happy to take questions or add any further clarification if anyone needs it. Or I'll take feedback too. Any thoughts? Why don't you all unmute? Unmute, unmute. Hey, guys. Any questions?
Well, I
Thoughts?
started, I'm attending, echoing. Can you hear me? It's
I'm
echoing.
getting some feedback.
Yeah, we're getting feedback. I mean, you said you wanted feedback, but not that kind of feedback.
Try now.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, it was Zach. Zach was one with the
Oh,
feedback. So
okay.
I muted Zach. So
Okay, different feedback. So since I'm attending the session one, this is my second time attending, letting it sink in. I started really setting intentions to work on this program and got to work on the homework, started my list. And it's really amazing and exciting how you can, you know, I started the brokerage account and named it, which got me really psyched just looking at it. And then I started some different ideas of how I can make some money with, I'm a photographer, on the side with my photography, and got rid of a bunch of clothes and sold them. So I had some more money to deposit in that account, and just kind of like realizing steps I can take. So feeling like I can actually do things, you know, with small steps that will be cumulative and meaningful.
well, congratulations. Sounds like you're making some good progress. And thank you for coming the second time. That's the greatest compliment, that you're willing to invest another hour after you've already heard it, an hour of it. So thank you. Anybody else?
Did anybody else start the brokerage account?
I started a brokerage account because I'm going to invest right alongside with you guys.
Yeah, it's great.
Just to give you a little preview into the next session, I will provide you a set of things to invest in that are very safe, and we're going to get going, and you're going to start, you know, seeing what it's like to invest your money and see it grow. So I've really made it very easy to implement and easy to understand.
That's great. Yeah, I'm excited to learn more. No, and so far it's all very accessible, where you feel the possibilities, and it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning about the investing, especially.
Thank you, Lynn. Anybody else? Andrew, Stephanie, Paul, Vignesh?
I have a lot of investing experience, but I don't have a lot of experience with the other things that you're talking about, augmenting income.
Mm-hmm.
And then also,
That's great. So what kind of returns have you been getting in the stock market?
well, this year was kind of ridiculous. It was like 27% or something.
That is
I
ridiculous.
don't think
Good
that's
for you.
really normal.
But that's not consistent, right? So,
No.
but that's great. So I did 52% this past year. It's crazy. This past year was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I don't own a house, so I'm looking forward to.
You don't own a house?
No, I don't. I should.
I think that's what I am saying would help you a lot. If you can put enough of a down payment to get started, the benefits just grow each year. I mean, remember, first you get a mortgage. It doesn't go up. It's not like rent, right? Rent, they raise every year. And with a mortgage, you know, you're a bit capped at that. So there's a lot of reasons why getting a first home makes a lot of sense. There's actually a lot of tax benefits too, which I will cover in the purchase home module. So that's good. Maybe you can help me help everyone with investing, because I could use some help helping people.
Okay.
But it sounds like you've had good success, 27%. That is nothing to sneeze at. That is good return. Good for you. Hey, Andrew, how you doing? Unmute. What do you think? You think you can do it? Can you do it?
Some parts I can do, but some parts I think I need help with. Like,
no, I will help you with everything. You don't have to do anything, but I will help you with everything. So,
like the buying a house part.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that anytime soon.
That's okay. That's okay. That's not a problem.
Is that like an important aspect of it?
Eventually, everyone's going to have a different plan. If that doesn't fit into the way if that doesn't fit into your financial situation for now, that's okay. We can do other things. There's many ways to cut this. So no, I mean, it's important, but it's got to work for you. That's more important than the actual plan, right? I mean, if buying a house isn't in the cards, that's no problem. I can get you to be a millionaire without buying a house.
Okay. Deal.
Yeah. This is Peter. Yeah, I think what Phil said all along is these are the way that it worked for him and all the method that work for him. So he knows they work for him. There's other ways that maybe work for you. You have your different idea of lifestyle and what you could put up with, what sacrifice you make. So I think if you really want to follow this, I think Phil will personally give you personalized advice on each specific. You might have different things that we don't even think about. You might have maybe legalize marijuana growing in your backyard that you could separate income. I don't know. I'm just saying that. You could do some offshore gambling.
How did you know that? Did he tell you?
I can smell it, but so I'm just saying that. Yeah.
That's a new feature in Zoom. You can
I
smell
don't
it.
do that. I was only kidding.
So I believe Phil is committed to this, and if you have, if you want to do this, I think it's a team effort that you and him will figure out what the best way path for you to reach your goal, which is to have $1 million of net worth, and is by in a time that you're comfortable with. I think that's the key here.
Yeah. So Andrew, I think everyone will have their own individual project plan, and if yours doesn't have a home for the first 5 years, it's not a big deal. So I mean, and let's say you put in a home in your project plan, you decide after a year that that's not going to work, then take it out. You have to adjust the plan to work for you. That's what the plan is. It's for you, right? So it's got to work for you, and you have to feel comfortable with it. So that's part of the process. Ken, Zach, Vignesh, how are you guys doing? Are you guys still with me?
Yeah, I'm still with you. I got this is Vignesh here. So I did some of the things that was mentioned in the presentation. I got a second job. I'm still a student in university, so they're both part-time jobs, but I did manage to get a second job. I do have a investment account on Robinhood, and I also have another investing account on Fidelity, just because I want to invest in Fidelity's index funds. And I also had a TD Ameritrade account, but I sort of ditched that, and I'm hoping to try to invest in bonds sometimes, but I can't afford bonds at the moment. And right now my goal is to buy a rental property, but I'm not sure if I should get a down payment and then have my tenant pay off the mortgage and make profits from that, or should I just save up entirely just to buy the house straight out?
So those, it sounds like you've got a lot of things going on, right? So you're still in university, but you've got a couple of jobs. So that's really good. You're very ambitious. Sounds like you've got quite a bit of experience with investing accounts. So you've got TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, Robinhood. Robinhood was good in the beginning when there were no fees, but now no one charges fees anymore. So I had used the Robinhood platform when it first came out, and I did not find it that rich. So anyways, I mean, you can use any platform you want. So that's great. Yeah, so in terms of whether you buy, I would never recommend you pay for the income property outright. You always want to do a mortgage. Mortgage is leverage, right? You can take, $10,000, buy a $100,000 home, and then let the tenants pay you rent, and then you take that rent money and pay off your mortgage. So generally you shouldn't. You generally probably should use some leverage. Leverage is a great tool, especially when interest rates are 3.5%. With interest rates so low, you really want to take advantage of that. So we'll talk about all of that as we go forward, Vignesh. So thank you so much for your input. Ken, how you doing? Does this make sense, Ken?
Yeah,
You seem like a seasoned guy.
Yeah, I'm seasoned. That's a good word. There you go. Seasoned. So.
Does it make sense? I mean, do you think it's something that you're able to work with?
Yes, and there's certain aspects I'm going to be more interested in than others.
Of course, of course. I think that that's a given, that different people will, depending on where they are in their life, will certain strategies will work better than others, and you may have more interest in things than one thing than the other. Good. Vignesh,
Yeah,
how you doing?
pretty good. Unfortunately, I have to go now, but thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Zach?
Zach said he is going to use text.
Ah.
He's in the chat
Is he in chat? Let me open chat.
because he's getting the other feedback.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I'm not having the best connection out of you. Should I stay muted and just, okay.
Yeah, he's talking in chat.
Yes. So it was given from.
Hello?
Right.
Is that better? That work? I'm not.
Yeah, we can hear.
Oh, I can hear him now.
Okay, yeah, very, very informative. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate that. I'm sure everyone here does. Very, very informative.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. I guess, I don't know, I've never really done any investing myself, but I've been trying to get into it, teach myself of the basics, and sort of get the whole wealth improvement thing, the multiplication that you talked about. So it's kind of, I've been stagnant for the last couple of years. 25, I went to college for a year, but I started working as an electrician's apprentice, making more money, like kind of pushed me in that direction, but trying to break out and start an entertainment company, an independent online entertainment platform for people, and I've been working on it for a couple of years now, and it's getting to the point where I'm about to start making some bigger moves, and I wanted to get more experience, I guess more experience perspectives, so I can have a more informed decision of what I'm going to do moving forward. I think it's just a good place to be.
So Zach, are you talking about investing? You're talking about getting more experience in investing?
Investing and running companies, you had considerable experience, as you said in the beginning, with being CEO of companies and trying to start something myself. So I figured that.
Oh, you're trying to start a company? Well, that's very entrepreneurial, and that's great. That's not a part of this course, but I could probably teach an entrepreneurial course too.
Yeah, you seem to have at least a few different perspectives on that.
Yeah, no, I do. I do.
A varied set of experience.
Maybe I'll slip in a little entrepreneurial stuff in some of the augment income sessions, because that actually, that's one of the ways to augment income is to start a company.
It would certainly be appreciated for me. I'm definitely interested.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll do something that's very, very foundational, very basic. It'll help everybody. We'll take it from there. Well, good. So I think I've heard from pretty much everybody. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I see you guys on February 2nd, which is the next session. And thank you again. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
You got
Stay safe.
It's February.
Thanks, Phil.
Bye.
See you all.